So there's currently nothing worth talking about regarding Vivziepop at the moment.
Are you sure about that?
So there's currently nothing above my neck at the moment. Holy hype in a handbasket, Viv. Calm down. There's only so much stimulation I can take. You dropped the biggest banger of HB Season 2 with another soon to come in a month, and then we get a letter stating that Daddy Hazbin is coming home with the milk and cigarettes after all. Man, someone must have invited B to this party, because us fans are eating good. All this buzz has really got me in the mood to make some Helluva Boss content, and I think I have just the idea. If you remember a while ago on Twitter, Vivzie dropped us a line, or 7 lines, containing the titles of the remaining HB Season 2 episodes. We've already witnessed the reunion of the Insane Clown Posse, and we know that Cheapy the Cheapskate is soon to come, but there's still some speculation regarding what the rest could be about. And as the fan-appointed president of Wrong Predictions, you know I couldn't keep my thoughts away for long. So in this video, I'm gonna script out a plot prediction that I feel would be perfect for the title I'm easily the most excited for. Here's what I hope will happen in Apology Tour. Now, I'm pretty sure that most of us are in the same boat in regards to premise, being that this is going to be a Blitz and Verosika episode where the Helluva Boss himself tries to amend the mistakes of his past and hopefully develop a better relationship with his ex. Well, actually, I think the episode's gonna be out of the boat. I'll admit that I've been more obsessed with this ship than I probably should be. Everyone agrees that Eminem and Stolitz are the goats of the series, but Verosika honestly has the most untapped potential in my eyes. So many questions worth answering. How did the two meet? What did the two bond over? Did Verosika's rising fame become an obstacle for their relationship? Did V ever use her fame at any point to try and give Blitz a leg up? Was he always a greedy, selfish lover? Or did that just occur near the tail end of things? She has a tattoo of Blitz's name on her arm that she chose to cross out instead of remove, meaning the scars must have been pretty deep. Not to mention this date night photo with some interesting implications. What the heck happened that caused them to go from lovey-dovey turtles to a slimy, toxic cesspit? Well, grab yourself some Bielsa juice and drink until you taste colors, because we've got one hell of a show for you tonight. Let's begin. It'll start off with Blitz in his office getting info from a new client. An extremely forgetful and petty old man who says that he wants this group of youngsters taken out because every day they would come to the park near his house and play their blasted pop music. And it would always give him migraines. His death wasn't even their fault, he died of a heart attack. But he wants revenge on those kiddies for their rampant noise pollution. Even though they weren't even playing it that loudly, he was just being a jerk. Unfortunately, the old man has a severe case of memory loss and can barely remember anything about them. Their appearances, their voices, he can't even remember the address of his own house so they can maybe scope out the park if they come back. While the IMP trio try to jog his memory, Loona's just sitting at her desk, reading a magazine and listening to the radio. But just before Moxxie walks over to turn it off so the old coot can focus, what else comes on but a Verosika song? Cause remember, she's a pop star on both Hell and Earth, and this immediately catches the ear of our absent-minded elder. He suddenly remembers that before he died, the kids said that they were gonna attend a big concert on a specific day in a specific place at a specific time. He basically has his own P. Sherman 42 Wallaby Way Sydney moment after hearing that tune. And while Blitz isn't exactly thrilled with the idea of going to a Verosika concert, he figures that a job is a job, so he checks his calendar and then his watch and realizes that the concert is actually gonna start in only a few minutes, so he's gotta hurry. He gives the old man one of his many cell phones and just tells him, you know what, it's fine, just give me more details when I get there. Maybe hearing more music will jog your memory, I don't know, just try to remember, okay? He literally grabs Moxxie by the horns like he's a frickin' suitcase, Loona uses the book to warp them to the concert spot, and we see that it's a massive sold-out crowd. Because today just keeps getting better, doesn't it? They find a prime spot to snipe as the stereo starts playing some old Verosika songs to get the crowd hyped before the show. He asks the man if it sounds familiar at all, and his answers are less than helpful.
Oh, I remember now. They were short, they had hair, and they absolutely had skin. Were they wearing hats at all?
Why are you asking me that? Moxxie notices that Blitz is really struggling and suggests that Blitz give him the firearm while he listens to the details from the client, but Blitz assures him that he can handle this. So now with all of these annoyances playing out at once, the old man rambling, the confusing crowd, the blaring music, the stress from the time crunch, Moxxie pestering him, Blitz is finding it really hard to focus. Heck, maybe we even hear his ears start to ring like he just got hit by a flashbang. And then all of a sudden, boom! Verosika finally takes the stage and appears from a massive, loud pink explosion, which startles Blitz into accidentally pulling the trigger and firing a shot that ricochets straight into the stage's fuse box and causes everything to go dark and dead silent for a second, followed by a huge, fiery explosion on stage. The crowd scatters, the stage itself collapses, maybe some of V's posse get hurt or even killed, and to top it all off, a piece of flying debris lands directly on top of V's tour bus and totals it. And all of this chaos will be done at night in the dark with only fire to illuminate the scene, making everything really chaotic and hellish. Verosika's pretty confused amidst the chaos, but then one of her hired hellhounds in disguise who actually heard the shot ring out tells her that he inspected the shooter's nest and sniffed out trace elements of imp sweat, iced coffee, and horsehair. Also, we dropped his phone, so we have, like, pictures of him and stuff. Verosika is extremely mad about all this. Maybe we get a cool shot of her angry face accentuated by the fire, and just when IMP thinks that they're home free, she uses her Osmodeus crystal to storm right into their office and scold Blitz for what he did, which would make for some more great banter between the two, like we saw in Spring Broken. You ruined my show. It was ruined the moment you stepped on stage, honey. You murdered half of my staff. They worked for you? Trust me, those were mercy kills. And you flattened my tour bus. Well, you've never had the best luck with parking spaces, so... Verosika looks like she's about to explode until she realizes that at this moment, Blitz is completely at her mercy. Oh, how the tables have turned. She tells Blitz that she could have her human lawyers sue the pants off him while revealing his demonic identity. She could have her demon lawyers sue the pants off him while revealing that he caused the massive disturbance this time. Or she could just let bygones be bygones, if Blitz was willing to work off all the damages he caused. She still has a massive 2-week cross-country tour on the surface, and she needs lackeys to do her bidding. She gets all up in Blitz's face expecting a reaction of pure fear and anger, but all she gets is a flat, straightforward, "I'll do it," which she's pretty taken aback by. She figures that Blitz is just playing tough because he knows that she'd love to get a reaction out of him. So you know what? That's fine. She can play his game too. She is going to freaking break him over the course of the next 14 days. Game on, baby. She gives Blitz a hot minute to sort out the affairs for his business, and he actually comes up with a way to make this arrangement work to his advantage. Alright.
They also had eyes. 2 of them, in fact. I also recall noses.
Here's what we're gonna do. Blitz explains to Moxxie and Loona that he's gonna be serving as a Royal Pain's footstool for a fortnight, so there's gonna have to be some changes around here. We find out that Millie is currently away on an important business trip. How did that get there? So the fat joke duo are all he's got. Moxxie immediately assumes that he'll be put in charge of the killings while Loona does her usual reception job, but Blitz is still burnt from the unhappy camper situation, so he tells Moxxie that he's not going anywhere near a target. And he obviously doesn't want his loony balloony going on jobs without him. Instead, Moxxie and Loona will be running the business from the office, accepting clients, keeping the books and whatnot, while he does the killing himself. Basically, he's going to make these next 2 weeks into an extended version of his discount deal from Spring Broken. But instead of 50% off for spring break victims, it's going to be 80% off for any victims that happen to be in the towns that Verosika will be visiting. And they've got limited time to place their order, because Blitz will only be there for 1 to 2 days. And we all know that limited availability is key to big sales numbers, for better or for worse. He hands Moxxie a stack of flyers to place, and of course there's only 1 flyer for each discount. Cause hey, if it worked once, why wouldn't it work again, right? He packs up his weapons and other junk he needs and heads off with V to start the tour. So yeah, not only would we get a Blitz and Verosika episode, but a Moxxie and Loona subplot as well. 2 combos that have yet to receive the spotlight. Let's start with B and V first. As you would expect, the first few days of the tour are literal hell on earth for poor Blitz. V makes him do everything that involves hard physical labor all by himself. Her managers are able to pay for parts to fix the bus, but Blitz has to be the one to piece it all together. The equipment is able to be replaced, but Blitz has to haul everything into the truck himself. Even public relations are easily repaired. All Verosika has to do is make a public announcement and say, "Don't worry everybody, that fiery explosion and mass genocide was all part of the show. I was feeling experimental that day." And the typical music stands of the world are like, "Okay." And of course Blitz has to shoot, edit, and upload the video himself. And when Blitz isn't working hard, he's being demeaned. Like being forced to wear goofy outfits, eat off the floor like a house pet, and even emphasize the O in his name instead of keeping it silent. And while Blitz tries his best to keep his stern, business-first demeanor, it's obvious that some of these punishments are really starting to get to him, which makes V very pleased.
Good. Make him suffer. Poke his head a little bit.
But that's not even the worst thing she makes him do. Before they even arrive at stop 1 of the tour, Verosika reveals to Blitz that she's not the only one who's going to be performing at these shows. She needs an opening act. And who better for the job than her red and white monkey boy? She even wrote a special song for him to sing each night. And when Blitz looks over the lyrics, he sees that it is the most demeaning, outwardly insulting anthem ever conceived by man or demon, mixing a lot of vulgarities with some deep cuts about his personal life to make for a massive embarrassment smoothie. You can even call it something inappropriate like Helluva Boss usually does. Like maybe, "I'm just a big with a small. I'm just a big with a small, and I got nothing on you." Wow! Or something like that, I don't know. Blitz is gonna have to sing this every single night that V performs, center stage with a full band. And for a thespian who's been scarred by constant heckling and booing off stage, this is literally his nightmare come true. The only semi-positive thing to come out of this tour is that V does give Blitz a proper human disguise, so at least we'll be able to see what human Blitz would look like, and plenty of him. It's sure to be a cool design if Stolas and Loona are anything to go by. Speaking of cool designs, Moxxie and Loona's plot would definitely have less screen time than the main story, but it would be a good chance to showcase a lot of Vivzie's signature sinner designs as they all show up to IMP in rapid succession to place their orders. A lot of them being very overdramatic or angry or even Karen-esque. Moxxie and Loona have been silent to each other for most of the week, simply exchanging important information and nothing else, but one day when their flood of clients stops flowing, Moxxie at least tries to break the ice and be a little more friendly. He puts on some of his theater boy voices and imitates some of the more annoying customers that they had that day. At first, Loona doesn't respond and just keeps texting on her phone, but then he hears a small chuckle escape from her mouth. He keeps doing the voices and exaggerates them even more, leading to Loona coming closer and closer to laughing out loud, but then she immediately snaps at Moxxie and says, "Will you shut up? I'm trying to text here." Moxxie obliges, but he knows that he's onto something here. If Loona wants to text, so be it. He actually sends her a message including a comedic, poorly drawn image of a client they had that day. When she sees that he texted her, she gives him a sideways glare, but then the message goes from delivered to read, meaning she at least looked at it. He sends her more, and the same thing happens. And while she doesn't respond, this does show that she's at least passively interested in what he's sending her. She won't admit it, but they're actually kind of bonding over these 2 weeks, keeping each other entertained. Cut back to Blitz, and the poor guy is absolutely destroyed come the middle of the first week. He's serving a she-witch by day and performing multiple murders by night. No sleep, minimal food and water. Yeah, he ain't doing so hot. And yet aside from the occasional crack, he remains steadfast in his stern approach to do everything that V asks of him without question. And this only makes Verosika more angry because she wants him to get mad and sad and constantly break down. She wants him to feel emotional pain. But little does she know that Blitz is feeling more emotional pain behind the scenes than she would ever be able to inflict upon him. You see, the more time that Blitz is forced to serve Verosika, the more time he spends backstage, taking care of the before and after show affairs, which means that he's constantly reminded of small little quirks or hobbies or idiosyncrasies that she has. You know, things that he was subject to all the time back when they were dating. Like maybe despite having the voice of an angel, she snores like a wild bear, maybe she needs something to cuddle before she falls asleep, maybe she snorts when she laughs, maybe she likes toast with half butter and half jelly on one side, I don't know, just little things he recalls from back when they were together. And every time this happens, we're shown a little flashback snippet of a special time they shared together, like maybe snuggling after a nightmare or making each other breakfast in the morning. But once these snippets fade away, Blitz's face goes from a happy, contemplative smile to a look of pure sadness. And the more this happens, the more his day-to-day behavior starts to change. Eventually, it gets to the point where he doesn't even wait for Verosika to give him commands anymore. If something goes wrong, he immediately fixes it without question. Light bulb goes out, he changes it. Food needs to be delivered, he dashes right to the door. And whenever Verosika tries to communicate with him, he doesn't say a single word. He just looks up at her with eyes full of emptiness and weakness, only acknowledging her when she has something for him to do. At first, Verosika sees this as mission accomplished. She finally broke the guy. He's devolved into her emotionally shattered little errand boy. She had the last laugh when all was said and done. And the audience is left completely in the dark on this. Why did Blitz's mood shift so drastically when those seemingly happy memories resurfaced? Does he just miss dating her that much? Did he do something terrible later on that he now regrets? What is the full story with their relationship? Well, in the end, everything comes into clear view during the final night of the tour. Verosika's all set to see Blitz perform his big number for the last time, but she notices that the backup band who usually plays alongside him isn't even there. Turns out that he actually paid them a few bucks to take the night off so he could have the stage to himself. Our boy steps into view, acoustic guitar in hand, a single spotlight comes on, and he does start singing his song, but a very different version of it. The melody's the same, but the lyrics are drastically changed. Instead of being all crass and outwardly insulting, it's a lot more subtle, self-defeating, and deeply, deeply personal. He basically goes over every minor detail about their personal relationship without mentioning names, and tries his best to strum the most basic of chords on the guitar, since he's not exactly Moxxie levels of talented. And as he sings his version of the song, we get a visually told, no dialogue recap of their relationship together. And now, instead of seeing loose memories from Blitz's perspective, we get the full picture. I brought up a lot of my theories on their relationship in my Blitz's Life of Lovelessness video, but here's what I think happened. The two of them met while working small jobs at Lululand. Two up-and-coming entertainers trying to make ends meet until they get their big breaks. They start chatting it up between shifts and develop a friendship which then blossoms into a romance. A really, really close romance. Like both of them, especially V, are pretty convinced that they found their soulmate. And even if they don't achieve their dreams, they'll still have each other. But while Verosika's star starts to rise at a rapid rate, complete with plenty of gigs and entertainment world connections, Blitz is still stuck in his dead-end balloon vendor job, with nary a sign that he's going anywhere fast. Not to mention that the more loaded V's schedule gets, the less time Blitz gets to spend with her. Obviously, Verosika takes pity on her Blitzy boo and finds a solution to fix both problems. She gives Blitz a job as one of her personal bodyguards. That way he's employed and they get to spend more time together. This could also be where Blitz gains his proficiency for firearms and general weaponry. However, that starts taking a hit after a while, because as Verosika becomes a big star in both Hell and the human world, her agents recommend that she hire more high-end security to protect her. And try as Blitz might to reach the prestige of the big boys, he gets pushed more to the back of security and is rarely by V's side anymore. As for his dying career, V uses her newly formed connections to get Blitz a spot on TV where he can work out his best material. Dubbed The Blitzo Show. With the O being silent, of course. He absolutely bombs, he has a Joker-esque tantrum on stage complete with killing some of the audience members, and either the show gets cancelled because of the incident and Blitz gets put in jail where Verosika pays bail, or they say that murder happens all the time on live TV, but we're cancelling you because of low ratings. All of this happening at once triggers the first major instance of Blitz's toxic, isolating behavior. The poor guy just can't catch a break, no matter where he goes, no matter what he does. His mother's dead, his best friend and sister want nothing to do with him, he can't kickstart a solo career despite trying so hard, and while Verosika insists that she'll never leave him despite her rising stardom, Blitz finds that extremely hard to believe because, say it with me now, eventually everyone goes. He's sure that at some point Verosika's going to do what Fizz likely would have done whether or not he got burned, and leave him behind in pursuit of bigger and more important things. Heck, it's basically starting already. This leads to Blitz becoming incredibly cold, distant, and toxic in his behavior, in an attempt to avoid getting closer to Verosika and becoming more hurt when she inevitably leaves him behind. Verosika tries her best to make a good life for them, helping Blitz look into other job opportunities, offering to talk or cuddle whenever he's feeling bad, using her new cash to buy him some nice My Little Pony figures to cheer him up. But Blitz just continues to bottle up his emotions and wallow in hatred and self-pity while treating his soulmate like absolute trash, as was hinted at in Ozzy's. Eventually, the infamous moment mentioned in Spring Broken occurs, where Blitz drives V's car to Wrath and rides expensive horses, which finally results in V putting her foot down and breaking it off with him, leaving Blitz with a sad, regretful core memory of his own making that he now has to live with forever. The flashback then fades away as Blitz sings the last changed lyric. I'm just a big with a small and I've done nothing for you. Instead of the crowd's usual laughter in his face, he gets a huge standing ovation, but he just walks off stage, not even taking the time to enjoy it or revel in it. He walks right past V in silence, as she reaches out a hand to try and talk to him like Angel did in Hazbin, but she has no time since she's gotta perform right now. After the show, she tries to find out where he went, but he is long gone. The only remnant she can find is a huge stack of cash in the tour bus with a small note signed for Verosika. No misspellings, no doodles, not even any explanation. Just a straightforward for Verosika. We cut back to IMP to see that the fat stack of cash that he left her is actually all the profits that the company made during his little 2-week-long discount operation. Meaning Moxxie, Loona, and him basically have nothing to show for their efforts. Moxxie slams his head repeatedly on the table in anger, saying, 2 weeks of work for freaking nothing! But then Loona walks by and puts a hand on his shoulder, almost looking like she's gonna comfort him, only for her to grab his head and smash it on the table even harder to relieve her own rage. 2 weeks of work for freaking nothing! Moxxie collapses onto the ground because of course he does. Loona takes a very angry selfie and tags it with this description. Just spent 2 weeks working with my stupid, annoying, fat coworker for no pay at all. Kill me now. But before she hits send, she actually decides to delete a few of those adjectives. He's not stupid, he actually figured out a way to make her smile. He's not annoying, if anything, he's been helping her stay sane throughout this crazy work week. And even she has to admit that this twiggly little possum shrimp isn't exactly fat. She doesn't help Moxxie off the ground, absolutely not, but she does look down at him, roll her eyes, smile to herself, and then send the new message. At the very least, their little outing together did show that a friendlier relationship is possible for them in the future, even if they're not all outward buddy friendos just yet. And finally, we cut to the roof of the IMP office building, where Blitz is sitting all alone, guzzling beers, until Verosika finally finds him. She sits down next to him and asks why he bothered giving her all that money. The tour is over. He's already repaid her with hard labor. But then he looks up and utters the first words he's spoken to her in days. No, I didn't repay you. And I'll never be able to. Blitz in his tipsy state explains that the reason he was so upfront about accepting Verosika's terms was because he saw this as the perfect opportunity to finally make things even with her. After his reunion with Fizz, he's been a lot more open to burying the hatchet with the people he's wronged over the years. But the way he behaved towards V was absolutely inexcusable, and leagues worse than how he treated anyone else in the past. I mean, with Fizz, the worst that we've seen is just some bottling up of feelings, passive-aggressive jealousy, and a freak accident that he didn't even mean to cause. But with Verosika, he made her outwardly feel like absolute garbage day after day, when all she did was try to make things work in spite of hardships. She gave and provided so much for them, especially when she became a star, and all Blitz did was constantly push away and ignore her, and it only got worse with time. No matter how popular she got, she made it obvious that she would never leave him for redder pastures, and he should have trusted her. He should have realized the blessing that was bestowed upon him in this relationship. But he didn't, and now he's lost it forever. That's why he didn't just straight up apologize to her or anything, because without actions, those words would have been meaningless. He planned to take the brunt end of his punishment without hesitation or explanation. Let her humiliate and demean him in any way she wanted for 2 straight weeks with no strings attached. And then just maybe that could compensate for all the literal hell he put her through. But the more personal memories that get triggered, and the more he's reminded of every single terrible thing he caused, the more he starts to think that no, even this isn't enough. So he takes it a few steps further by doing tasks without being commanded, pouring his heart out to an audience of billions watching, giving her all the financial comp he can muster at the moment. And after his speech, Blitz just curls up in Verosika's lap like a lost puppy, and much like in Queen Bee, just lets his tears and emotions flow like rivers. He mutters things to himself like, "I'm sorry, you were right, what have I done?" Just laying there as a complete and total wreck. Verosika looks down at Blitz with nothing but pity in her eyes, gently stroking his head as he lays on her. She chuckles and says, "Hey, remember when you used to do this for me? I was always so scared every time I had a new gig planned. I just wanted to cancel, but you just kept pushing me to go for it. You always were the bigger dreamer between us. You had such passion and drive. You were so sure of yourself, so sure of us. You really helped me become me." This would be a subtle nod to the circus, where Blitz has always been a dream chaser, even as a child, and it would show that even though Blitz screwed up yet another relationship, his influence did leave a lasting positive impact on someone's life, much like I feel he did with Stolas. He helped turn Verosika into a go-getter. He helped her get over her fears and become the charismatic, heartbreaking star she was always meant to be. I feel like this would make their connection a lot stronger, and show yet again that even if Blitz botches up a lot of his bonds, they do still come out as better people having known him for the time they did. There's a long period of silence between the two of them as they just kind of stare at the sunset for a bit, until Blitz up front says, "I was a terrible boyfriend." And Verosika admits that, yeah, he was. He really was. But if he keeps being even half the imp he was today, he might make a halfway decent friend. Blitz gets up from her lap and gives her a big smile. She reaches for the last 2 beers Blitz brought as they toast to one another. Friends? Friends. The sound of the wind plays in the background with no music or jokes. Just let the moment be a nice moment. Maybe the two of them nudge a little closer, happy to be back on good terms. Fade to credits, and that's the episode. In case you couldn't tell, I had a lot of fun writing this one. We get to dive into a relationship that most of the fandom is either indifferent to or straight up ignores. We get to further a dynamic that's been nothing more than a running gag for most of the show. And for those folks who really hate Blitz as a character, now you get to see him suffer for 20 minutes, so you can get something out of it too. I think an episode like this has a lot of potential, and if they do decide to have Blitz and Verosika make up, I hope they pull out all the big guns. Like bigger than Blitz's phallically named rocket launcher. But until that day, what do you guys think? Did you enjoy my write-up for Apology Tour? Would you like to see me predict other episodes before they release and I'm proven wrong again? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Like usual, I want to give a big thanks to my glorious Patreons, including Supercharged CEO of 9volt, Hunter Matzer, Jeffrey Ritter, Anonymous Anomaly, Tigerfire20, Sarah Collins, Michael Wallace, Ian Pendleton, Kelly Dalton, JUC64, Angel of Speed, Beanie, and our newest $10 supporter, William Robertson. I've got links to my Patreon, Discord, Twitter, and other type side gigs if you want to check them out in the description below. But for now, thanks for tuning in everybody, and I hope to see you all real soon.